Okay, good evening, everyone. Hope you and your dear ones are doing fine. Welcome you all to the 10th session of PMIK Whiztalk webinar series. Before we start with the session, some practicalities to be noted. As the session is being recorded, questions will be taken up towards the end of the session. So please feel free to type in your questions in the chat box as and when you get one. PDF details will also be shared towards the end of the session. Now let's have a quick look at the topic for today's session. Today we have Mr. Vivek Sonar, who will help us reflect on why we need to embrace a risk mindset, which is imperative for better and safer tomorrow. And just to quickly introduce you to him, Mr. Vivek Sonar is a certified project management professional with more than 30 years of experience in automotive industry. He also holds a risk management professional certification and is one among the first few in Indian auto industry. Mr. Vivek is also regarded as an SME on project and risk management and works with Internal Technical Academy in Mahindra and Mahindra Limited Auto Division in mentoring young professionals through workshops on the project program management with specific focus on project risk management. He is also an active volunteer of PMI for the past 15 plus years, and he has contributed to several initiatives of PMI, both globally and locally. Currently, he is serving in a voluntary role as an advisory committee member on the prestigious Voluntary Champion Program by PMI India. Not just that, he is also associated with BIS and ISO as an SME on project program management, ISO TC 258, and risk management, ISO TC 262. It's a great honor for us to have you as our speaker for today. Over to you, Mr. Vivek.
Hi, good evening, Divya. Thanks for the nice introduction. And hello, welcome everyone. It's an honor and privilege to be part of the PMI journey. And it's also a personal honor to be part of the PMI Kerala chapter WHIZTALK session for today. The topic, as you all know, it's about embracing a risk management mindset. What does that mean? The world is, 1 minute, I think the navigation of the presentation is not working. I will have to share it back again. Can you all see that now? Yeah, it's working. So,
Yes.
So friends, as you all know, the situation we are all in this for last close to what, 8-10 months. The space around us and within us is absolutely and highly occupied by that magic word, COVID. How it all started? It all started, they say, around second week of November in a very small part of China, a city called Wuhan, all of us know, and how fast it engulfed the entire world. By the end of April 2020, the entire world was actually under the COVID influence. So starting from nowhere to somewhere to global pandemic, the entire journey was crossed in less than 5 months. And naturally, all of us know it had an absolutely sweeping impact across the globe. Almost every nation's economy has come to a grinding halt, at least in the initial first few months of the pandemic. While we see that the entire the impact has been as sweeping, the truth behind that is actually the impact has been good for some industries and not so good for some industries. So while Divya, I'm hearing some background noise. Would you please help me to mute all the other participants, please?
Yeah. Can everybody?
Thank you. So while we as we look around around us locally and globally, we'll find that the associated impact, the consequential impact of COVID on the industry and economy has been split into two halves. One, there have been some potential losers, like automotive industry I belong, actually far-reaching of this COVID situation. where there have been some potential winners. It also us that risk actually doesn't come, not necessarily it comes with as a threat, but it comes as an opportunity. Now it all depends on you or me or us, is which side on a particular day when the risk hits us, which side of the world you are in. That's a matter of sheer luck or maybe your foresights. But as we pause here, I just wanted to reflect on what exactly is going wrong or went wrong way back October, November 19, when when India was actually celebrating and coming out of Diwali vacations, and maybe businesses, individuals, friends, family, organizations have been making big plan for the year-end close, for the calendar year, and also for the new year business plan. And suddenly, probably from end of November, the buzzword started. Now, question here is that the world, including us, were caught in surprise? There have been theories which talks about whether or not it's a black swan event, or the root of everything happening around us actually lies somewhere deep within us, within each one of us. And this is what practically has been going through my mind ever since we are all being riding on this COVID wave. Being a risk management student for long, this has been, actually giving me a sleepless night, as there is something is going wrong, and the root of it not necessarily lies in China, in COVID, in that particular, city, or the people who travel. These are all outwardly reason. The real deep reason lies in somewhere else. So I just helped myself and went back and I say, let me look at that one quarter, January to March 20. Because this is where the things have actually gone wrong, almost like a sharp vertical rise more than an exponential rise. And as I reflected back in that particular quarter, what happened in India, around us, globally, particularly in China as well, between January 20 to March 20. And that actually forced me to think something differently. I asked myself, is something, risk management is something which is a risk as a topic, is it new to us? And my mind told me that no, I mean, we have been dealing with the risk in our day-to-day life. We have risk related to family, we have risk related to properties, computers, health, road, and now this corona. And which means the risk as a subject, as a matter of, it has been part of our day-to-day life. It's always there. All of us in our personal capacities have been dealing with risk in whichever way best we felt that it is the right approach to deal with the risk. However, at the same point of time, when I looked around and take a larger cross-section of this society, I found what's a general attitude toward the risk as my fellow colleagues, my fellow countrymen, my fellow society men, they demonstrate. And here are some of the pictures. Very, very familiar pictures. We see them more than often around us. Look in particular the COVID. Government has been talking about issuing advisories about hygiene and social distancing and stuff like that. And what do we see around? Even today morning when I went for something to pick up from the grocery shop, I stepped out of the house, went into the main road, and I was shocked to see people thronging the entire market as if it's a festive season, without following any basic discipline of whatever the government has been advising on, wearing a face mask or social distancing or anything like that. I was actually perturbed, and I'm still perturbed about, on one hand, when I talk to people about risk in personal life, like buying a policy or property insurance and stuff like that, everybody acknowledges, yeah, we do that. Oh, I appreciate, that's what risk management or dealing with risk is. However, same we, same I, same you, same everyone, when we go out, we exhibit a different behavior. So the core of it, I felt, by the time whatever research and whatever study I did, I thought the core of the issue actually not lies with the economy and China and something like that. The core of the issue actually lies in our attitude, and our attitude actually then govern the entire chain of event through the thought process, the responses, and kind of influences we create around us. Imagine that picture with the person who is jumping over the rail track in front of a running train. And imagine he is one of your colleagues. God forbid, touch wood, from among the participants, expect anyone to be finding very familiar themselves associated with those pictures about the attitude which I just showed 2 minutes back. But imagine that person who is jumping in front of the running train. He is one of our colleagues. What kind of risk management or risk attitude he would be showing when he comes to office and start dealing with the office assignments? I mean, that doesn't need absolutely any explanation, right? And that's where I am seeing that the issue is actually into the attitude. And to impress on my point, I just take two root causes. One, in my personal belief, again looking through the window of Jan 20 to March 20, I felt the world over, and in particular India, has failed to proactively, accurately assess the risk which is coming out of COVID-19. And thereby, since they failed to proactively assess that risk, they failed also into their recalibrating themselves to deal with what could be the potential consequences of that particular, the situation. And to substantiate this, I looked at the countries all across the world in terms of their handling of the COVID situation. So on one hand, I'm finding there are a set of countries who have been regarded as and looked upon as one of the best responses in terms of whatever they have done handling the COVID situation. And on the other hand, there are a set of countries, they are regarded as not one of the best or worst actually the worst responses in terms of managing the entire COVID situation. Unfortunately, it's extremely painful to see India on the left-hand side. And this is through the internet search, I came up with this view. Then it interestingly draw my attention further to look at those set of countries which are on the right-hand side of the screen, like Singapore, Australia, Canada, and stuff. And one very, very startling revelation which came out is that the country, by virtue of what they are today in handling the COVID situation, is primarily lies into very early spotting of the risk and early assessment of the risk and starting early. And that early advantage is what has actually made the difference between the right-hand side of the countries and the left-hand side of the countries. So while part of us were actually hoping, kuch nahi hoga, oh, this is China, oh, it's Wuhan, what I have to do, this is 4,000 kilometers from where I live. Suddenly, we were at some point in time when we were thinking like this, there were certain set of people, set of countries who were actually thinking differently. And the only thing which made difference is their ability to look beyond the obvious, their ability to think, zoom out and look at the situation and from a more objective point of view, their ability to assess that risk very, very accurately and very, very proactively. The second root cause, what comes to my mind, is about historical lesson learned. Again, as a country, as a society, and largely the world which is on the left-hand side of the worst management of the COVID situation, have failed to learn from the historical, lesson learned. And since they failed to calibrate themselves, they failed to learn the, historical lessons, they failed to calibrate themselves. And when I say recalibrating or calibrating, it's actually meaning preparing themselves better to handle the situation. The question here is, what if the things turn out to be ugly than what they appear? What do I do? If they don't, I'm lucky. But if they turn out, am I prepared to deal with that? And that is what actually certainly the making difference. And to substantiate this root cause, I looked at again, go beyond COVID. And I asked myself, is this COVID is something of that nature, of that scale and of that complexity? Has it happened for the first time in the history of the world? And then I looked back and I found actually not. From my early childhood memory, goes back to 1980 Skylab, when the International Space Station actually went into pieces, and there were rumors that the pieces of the Skylab, that space station, is going to fall all over the world, creating kind of an havoc. And that was my first childhood introduction to something like a global crisis. Going through the various crises, which I, as a sample example on this slide here, I realize we as a society haven't really learned. Talking is different, but imbibing those lessons learned and recalibrating ourselves as a constant, and constantly is where I saw the difference. And this is where I felt that these are the fundamental two reasons, which is where, and these reasons are actually lying within each one of us. And the deep-rooted reason for this outwardly reason is actually pointing me to look at we as a country, we as a society, we as an individual, is what do we exhibit? We exhibit very, very laid back attitude. We are generally casual and careless people. हाँ ठीक है होगा देखा जाएगा. What's the problem? अरे वो China में हो रहा है. Let it come here ना. Now the same people who were telling me this few months back, when they are finding the COVID impacts in their family, in their neighborhood, now are shit scared. And they are coming and asking me and telling me, oh shit, 4 months back you were telling us to discussing and telling us to do something about it, and we actually laughed at you, made a joke of you. But I think you were right in somewhere, pointing that to us. But it's too late, because now my family members are actually affected because of COVID. And I felt just sorry about that person. The other fundamental deep-rooted reason I found is about lack of awareness. Now, many people, they don't realize that buying an insurance is actually a risk response strategy, one of the risk response strategy. Gone are the days when we used to conduct the marriage-like event in the family, inviting all the close family members, and they are collectively taking the responsibility of conducting and going through the entire marriage, related functions at home for weeks together. And now we have the, agencies where you actually outsource that entire event, that event management agency. Isn't it a risk management strategy also? People do that, but they are not aware. They are not explicitly clear about the linkage of that and to what I'm trying to say about risk management. Last but not the least, there is a general lack of ownership. People still believe that ye kuch hoga, that government has to see. What can we do? Administration has to see. Hospital has to see. The root of it is lies into chalta hai attitude. Jab hoga dekha jayega attitude. And as I go through this, I'm actually pained when last night I saw a tweet and a news where it was saying that Kerala, which was once upon a time considered, a few months back, was considered to be the best state to have proactive handle the corona situation, is actually topping on the wrong side. Now it is the worst in terms of the number of cases per million. What has happened? I was just thinking, it was an irony and a sad coincidence for me to talk to the Kerala chapter, colleagues and friends here, fellow practitioners here. And yesterday I was seeing that news. I don't know what's happening there actually in Kerala. But since you are part there, majority of you would probably try to relate what exactly is going wrong or has gone wrong there. Personally, to me, I think the deep-rooting causes are in our attitude and in our lack of awareness. So the key issue here to address is, if we have to reimagine ourselves into handling such kind of situations, including the current one, in future, I think these are some of the attributes which we have to seriously give a thought, seriously dwell upon ourselves, look at some of the other professional, other experienced people, and take their advice, take their input, collectively then come up with a different set of thought process around each of these attributes. May it be attitude, may it be responsibility, may it be process, everything around it. And that's where I feel that if we have to prepare ourselves to deal with any such eventualities, God forbid, touch wood, the world should not see any another such event of like COVID, which has happened in 2020 and has actually ruined the entire calendar year. Actually, ruining the entire calendar year. God forbid, it shouldn't happen again. But life is extremely uncertain. We all know risks are there in everyday walk of the life, whether it is personal or professional. The degree and the complexity and the consequence could be in different scale, but risks are there in the life. The only way we can probably prepare is by embracing a risk mindset. And when I say about risk mindset, there are fundamentally 6 attributes to that risk mindset. So having said that we need to embrace risk mindset, means what? That means what is actually working on each of these six attributes of the risk mindset. Let me just take each one of them and explain a little bit here. Proactivity is vital. I personally believe it is right, because when we go back again and look at those examples of the Australia, Canada, UAE, Singapore, by the way, when you looked at those countries, I'm sure you wouldn't have find anything common in them in terms of their background, their GDP, the literacy rate, anything, any parameter you judge the country, you will not find anything common in any of those countries. The only thing which stood out, as per even the internet reports also, is their proactively assessing the risk. So in dealing with risk and changing to risk mindset primarily involves how proactively you are able to zoom out and assess the situation more objectively. That proactive mindset actually helps you to reject the wishful thinking. Sab kuch theek ho jayega, it's a passing wave. We can't be having an ostrich mindset where ostrich ducks its head into the sand thinking the storm will pass. That won't help. The second is about responsibility. My risk is my responsibility. My family risk is my responsibility. If we start with that, then we look outward and say, okay, what government has to do, what the NGOs has to do, what administration has to do, what medical profession has to do. It's latter. First, it starts with me. I have to take full responsibility of my risk along with my family member. Third, I need to also probably be aware and remind myself that risk is absolutely natural. We have to accept this reality. And it is actually going and touching again that wishful thinking that all is well, all is well, all is well, all is going to be well. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. Things will happen. Storm will come and go. At the end, everything will be happen. Everything will be fine. We can't be living in that wishful thinking. We have to accept the reality that risk is natural. The moment you accept that as a reality, then we don't struggle to reject any unwanted situation in front of us. Next, every risk matters. Every risk matters. It's our ability to assess the propensity of it, assess the width and breadth and depth of the impact, actually help us in prioritizing and dealing with that risk. But that fundamentally we need to remind ourselves that every single risk which matters, every single risk which will take me away from my end objective is where the point lies. Having said that, I have to also remind myself that every risk is manageable. Either I will be able to influence it, or I can take help from people around me who can help me to influence that in a better way. Which means I cannot sit quiet and say everything will be fine or somebody else has to do. It again goes back to reminding that I have to own everything around me and about the risk around me. I also have to remind myself, not all risks are bad. The risk, as we saw in the earlier example, there are industries, there are sectors which have been doing good. They saw that opportunity and converted that risk into an opportunity, and they're doing better. Right? So it's all about how do I look at it. Risk not necessarily every time comes with the negative consequences. Conditionally, I mean, colloquially, we are born and brought up into a society like it actually instill the negative how do I put it, negative biases. In childhood, we are always taught about don't do this, don't go there. It always comes with no. It doesn't come with that if you do this, these are going to be the consequences. These are going to be the problem. You need to be aware of it. And this actually, sets us into a negative bias. We don't have to. We have to take efforts and come out of that negative bias and tell ourselves that risks not necessarily are always bad risks. I personally believe, and that's why I submit to all of you, that risk mindset calls for changing an attitude, because once we work on our attitude about dealing with risk, our actions, our belief, our behavior will automatically fall in line, in the right line. And once I do that and I influence rightly my family member, my colleagues, my friend, my people around, I kind of also become part of the culture which influences the larger change. embrace mindset is actually vital for driving towards a right risk culture. And this actually works in a cyclic manner. It works, I have to set into, starting with me, influencing other, we need to set ourselves into a virtuous cycle, which will always be giving us a good result. Choosing a right mindset here, whether I need to perish or I need to progress. And we need to probably embrace that, that I like this quote. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, courage to change the things I can. And the key is wisdom to know the difference, where to act, how much to act, when to act, how to act. I think if I work on that mindset and constantly make effort to be in that mindset, I think each one of us will be in a much better position to deal with any of these kind of risk which we might face in our life in future. By the way, risk management and decision making is absolutely hand in gloves. When you say risk management, primarily you deal with options in risk management. So do you deal with options in decision making. When I say I have to decide, which means primarily I am struggling with more than one option. If I tell you, standing on earth, that the sun rises on the east, will there be a second option to that? Probably not. Standing on the earth, no matter which part of the earth you are standing on, and whether you are standing on your feet or standing on your head, the sun will always rise on the east. That's a natural truth. Anything other than that is probability, and probability comes with dealing with options. By the way, do you know the funny part? Decision making. Decision derives itself from a verb called decide. And if I ask you, what do you understand from decide? And to give you a hint, if I ask you, what do you understand from pesticide? And I'm sure 100% hands will go up and they say, oh, it's killing pest. And what does it mean to suicide? Oh, it's killing self. And about homicide? Oh, killing masses. Now I can imagine here, without looking at your faces, I can see a smile of recognition on your faces. Something is common between pesticide, suicide, homicide, and decide. That side, the Latin word, stands for killing. In pesticide, you are killing the pest. In decide, the DE in Latin again stands for option. So in decision making, you actually deal with options, kill wrong options, and try to pick the right options. In risk management, you do exactly the same. By the way, risk management for practicing professionals, project managers across the globe has been one of the top 5 or rather the biggest challenge in project management. If you search across and look at any projects, whether in the public sector or in the private sector or in NGO project or even your own home projects like school, about kids, about yourself, about parents or everything, you will find one of the fundamental reasons why things go wrong is about inaccurate risk, assessment of the risk. So friends, my simple submission to all of you, we need to embrace the risk mindset. And embracing risk mindset starts with accepting that risk is my responsibility, accepting that risks are natural, accepting that all risks are manageable, accepting that the risk, not all risks are bad, and so on and so forth. And a simple roadmap to the change, which I will propose to the team as a last slide of this entire discussion, is about threefold. First is about awareness. We need to be aware ourselves and create that awareness around us. And how do we do that? We have to research, we have to read, we have to collaborate with like-minded people and help improve our own awareness, and also by sharing, improve the other awareness around people around us. Second, the second stage would be about learning and experimenting. Formally, we need to learn about risk management. It may call for formal learning, and I'm not saying that you go for any certification or anything, but there are enough books, enough articles, enough write-up, enough information is available on internet. On your weekend, please mark it a point. Please try and spend at least half an hour reading something about risk every week. You will amaze yourself after a few weeks or few months how much awareness and how much knowledge you would have gained by just investing half an hour every week. Every week, I am saying, half an hour reading about risk. Learn. As you learn, your awareness will be improved. What you learn, you try and implement. Unlearn. by that process, you will learn and continue on that particular line about learning, unlearning, and relearning. Parallelly, we all can join formal study group, practitioner forums. There are various things available. It's all about getting up and doing that. Last but not the least, after having prepared ourselves properly into this particular journey, we need to then start socializing and become an advocate, become a change, become a lead for ourselves and for others. And that also means I have started now influencing the right way the other people, and this way I think I am now driving a cultural change in whichever small, big, medium capacities. But I'm sure if each one of us take an oath and do this collectively, I'm damn sure personally, and I'm willing to have any kind of debate with anyone, that why we would not change us and ourselves and also the society around us for a better, and hope for a better and secure future ahead of us. So this is all what I wanted to submit to all of you. Happy learning, happy discovering, and happy reading. Thank you. Divya, over to you.
Thank you, Vivek. There is actually a lot of compliments for this session, saying this has been a great one. I see Lindsay has actually asked, how can Vivek's session could end without a shairi? One that is apt for this topic, please. We can't hear you.
It's something which shouldn't come after asking Vivek, sir. It has to come by itself.
Hey, say sorry to disappoint. Not prepared. Maybe some other time.
Vivek, sir, do you need a preparation for this?
Who was that? Kalyan. Oh my God.
Kalyan.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I think everybody
Maybe I'll be better prepared next time.
Sure, no problem, Vivek, sir. No problem. That was a wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, lot of compliments for you on your session. Thank you, Mr. Vivek, for the wonderful session. As you rightly said, we deal with risks almost on a daily basis, and it just boils down to our attitude, our behavior, and our actions on how we manage, mitigate, or respond to it, which really makes the difference. So thank you so much for taking time to share your insights with us, and thank you all for your participation. See you in the next session.
Thank you, Divya, and the entire PMI Kerala chapter team for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. Thank you. Stay well, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.